the last few hours, the Justice Department said it will not open a civil rights probe a week after an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Good in South Minneapolis.
You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car nuts.
Learning more about the ICE agent who killed Renee Nicole Good.
You are looking at what may be the most significant act of defiance inside the federal government since the Trump administration began its immigration crackdown. An FBI agent just quit her job rather than follow orders from Washington. Her name is Tracy Mergen. She was the acting supervisor of the Public Corruption Squad at the FBI's Minneapolis field office. Her job was to investigate civil rights violations and corruption. And when an ICE agent shot and killed a 37-year-old mother named Renee Good on January 7th, Mergen did exactly what FBI agents are supposed to do. She opened a civil rights investigation. She began working with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. She drafted a warrant to examine the bullets that struck Good's body. Standard procedure, by the book. But then Washington called. According to sources briefed on the discussions, aides to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche contacted the Minneapolis FBI office with new instructions. The civil rights investigation was to be shut down. The warrant Mergen had drafted to examine Good's car and reconstruct the path of the bullets, she was told to rewrite it. The new subject of the investigation would not be the officer who pulled the trigger. It would be the woman he killed. And what happened next has triggered the largest mass resignation of federal prosecutors in modern American history. If you want to understand how the Department of Justice is being turned into a political weapon, tap like right now. According to sources who spoke to the New York Times, CBS News, and NBC News, here is what Tracy Mergen was ordered to do. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was Donald Trump's personal lawyer before joining the Justice Department, sent instructions to the Minneapolis FBI office. Stop the civil rights investigation into the ICE agent. Reclassify the case. Instead of investigating whether the officer used excessive force, investigate whether the dead woman committed assault. That is correct. The Department of Justice ordered FBI agents to investigate Renee Good for assault on a federal officer. Renee Good, who was shot in the head. Renee Good, who was shot in the chest. Renee Good, who was shot in the arm. Renee Good, who is dead. But it gets worse. According to multiple sources, the Justice Department also ordered agents to investigate Becca Good, Renee's widow. Becca Good, who watched her partner die. Becca Good, who is now raising their children alone. The accusation? That she may have impeded a federal officer by being present at the scene. According to NBC News, the investigation into Becca Good is focused on a section of the U.S. Code about assaulting, resisting, or impeding federal officers. This follows a December memo from Attorney General Pam Bondi stating that a top Justice Department priority was to counter domestic terrorism, including groups with an anti-fascist platform. The administration has called Renee Good a domestic terrorist. They said this before they even knew her name. Tracy Mergen refused. According to an FBI source who spoke to CBS News, she would not bow to pressure from leadership, so she quit. If you believe that law enforcement should investigate crimes, not victims, comment justice below. But Tracy Mergen is not alone. Her resignation is just the latest in an exodus that has gutted the federal prosecutor's office in Minnesota. On January 13th, 6 federal prosecutors resigned from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis. Let me tell you who they are. Joe Thompson. He was the acting U. Attorney for Minnesota. He was the lead prosecutor on the Feeding Our Future fraud case. He charged 78 people. He secured 58 convictions. He estimated the total fraud at $9 billion. Just last month, he stood at a podium and said, "What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. The magnitude cannot be overstated." Harry Jacobs, senior prosecutor who worked alongside Thompson on the fraud investigations for years. Melinda Williams, she led the entire criminal division of the Minneapolis office. Thomas Calhoun Lopez, senior career prosecutor. Ruth Schneider, senior career prosecutor. Tom Hollenhurst, senior career prosecutor. 6 prosecutors, all gone in a single day. According to the New York Times, they resigned after being pressured to investigate Renee Good's widow instead of the agent who killed her. According to NPR, they also objected to the Justice Department's refusal to cooperate with Minnesota state investigators. Doug Kelly is a former assistant U.S. attorney who has practiced federal criminal law in Minnesota for 51 years. Here is what he said. "This is the darkest day in 51 years as far as I can see for the rule of law in Minnesota." But that was just the appetizer. The same week, 5 senior prosecutors in the Civil Rights Division in Washington also resigned. That is the unit that normally investigates police shootings and civil rights abuses. The entire leadership team walked out. Now add Tracy Mergen to the list. That is 12 federal officials who have resigned rather than participate in what they apparently believe is a cover-up. 12. In less than 3 weeks, this is not normal. This is not how the Justice Department works. This is not how investigations are supposed to be conducted. When career officials resign, rather than follow orders, they are telling you something. They are telling you that what they were asked to do violated their oath. They are telling you that the system is broken. If you want to stay informed about what is really happening inside the Justice Department, make sure to subscribe right now. Let me explain why this matters beyond Minneapolis. When a federal agent kills a civilian, there is a standard process. The FBI investigates. The Civil Rights Division reviews the case. Local authorities are included. This is how accountability works. This is how George Floyd's killers were prosecuted. This is how the system is supposed to function. But Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said this about Renee Good's case. There is currently no basis for a criminal civil rights investigation. He told Fox News, "We don't just go out and investigate every time an officer is forced to defend himself against somebody putting his life in danger. We never do." That statement is demonstrably false. During Trump's first term, the Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation into the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police officers. That investigation led to federal charges and convictions. The same city, the same type of case, different outcome. The difference? George Floyd's death happened before Trump controlled the Justice Department again. Now, the same department that prosecuted police officers for killing George Floyd is refusing to investigate an ICE agent for killing Renee Good. Instead, they are investigating her widow. They are also investigating Governor Tim Walz. They are investigating Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. They are investigating the mayor of St. Paul. The theory? That these elected officials conspired to impede federal immigration agents through their public statements, through their words. This week, the Justice Department issued subpoenas to all of them. Governor Tim Walz responded to the prosecutor resignations. Joe Thompson is a principled public servant who spent more than a decade achieving justice for Minnesotans. "This is a huge loss for our state," he added. "It's also the latest sign Trump is pushing nonpartisan career professionals out of the Justice Department, replacing them with his sycophants." Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey was more direct. "The prosecutors are heroes," he said. "The people pushing to prosecute Renee's widow are monsters." Senator Amy Klobuchar, a former prosecutor herself, said, "The family and loved ones of Renee Good deserve justice, not political attacks." She called the DOJ's handling of the investigation politicization that is doing lasting damage to our justice system. Here is the irony that no one is talking about. Joe Thompson, the prosecutor who resigned, was the man leading the fraud investigations that Trump says he cares about. The Feeding Our Future case, the Medicaid fraud, the $9 billion in stolen taxpayer money. By pushing Thompson out, the Justice Department sabotaged its own fraud investigation. The man who caught the fraudsters quit because he refused to persecute a grieving widow. Think about that. So what happens now? The Justice Department is bringing in military lawyers to replace the prosecutors who resigned. 25 military attorneys from the Judge Advocate General's Corps have been sent to Minneapolis. White-collar crime specialists are being flown in from Detroit and Los Angeles. The FBI says it is continuing to investigate the shooting, but FBI spokesman Ben Williamson made clear what direction that investigation is taking. "The facts on the ground do not support a civil rights investigation," he said. "FBI continues to investigate the incident, as well as the violent criminal actors and those perpetrating illegal activity." Violent criminal actors. That is how the FBI is describing protesters and people like Renee Good. Meanwhile, the agent who shot her, Jonathan Ross, remains on duty. He has not been charged. He has not been suspended. He has not been interviewed by state investigators. Vice President J.D. Vance said he was doing his job. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said he followed his training. She said this the day after the shooting, before any investigation had been completed. The independent autopsy, commissioned by Renee Good's family, found she was shot in the left temple. The bullet exited the right side of her head. She was also shot in the right breast and left forearm. Those wounds were not life-threatening. The shot to her head killed her. Her family's attorney says the evidence suggests she was moving away from the officer, not toward him, when the fatal shot was fired. The New York Times conducted a video analysis that showed no indication Ross had been run over. In cell phone footage taken by Ross himself, Renee Good can be heard saying, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." Seconds later, she was dead. A male voice on the recording says something after the shots. According to NBC News, it sounds like F-ing bitch. But there will be no federal civil rights investigation, because Tracy Mergen refused to turn one into something else. And because she refused, she is gone. 12 federal officials, gone. The lead fraud prosecutor, gone. The head of the criminal division, gone. The FBI supervisor who tried to do her job, gone. all replaced by military lawyers and prosecutors flown in from other states, all because they would not investigate a dead woman instead of the man who killed her. So this brings us to the final question. When career FBI agents quit rather than follow orders, when federal prosecutors resign en masse, when the Justice Department investigates the dead instead of the killer, what does that tell you about the state of justice in America? Let me know what you think in the comments below. All of the information in this video comes from official statements and verified news reports. Sources include The New York Times, CBS News, NBC News, NPR, PBS NewsHour, The Washington Post, The Hill, Fox 9, Minneapolis, Minnesota Public Radio, and Democracy Now! Quotes are attributed to FBI sources: Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Frey, Senator Amy Klobuchar, and former federal prosecutor Doug Kelly. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.